Well, our style is a composite of over 200 different northern styles of Chinese Kung Fu Wushu. And the Grand Master who introduced Chinese Kung Fu Wushu to America back in 1968 is Alan Lee. So it all comes from his training with over 25 different masters in China and bringing it to this country where he saw that there was a need for people to learn self-defense, more so than just the rigid techniques that had been introduced in this country. As you saw the fighting, sometimes it was very fluid, and sometimes you had fluidity plus power, which is the key. We want to disguise our techniques, make it look soft, but when the contact happens, it's a big impact.
Normally, when a student begins their lessons here, we start them out with a general development exercise system, and that basically consists of calisthenics, a lot of sit-ups, push-ups, things of that nature. Then we move on to internal systems. We do something called Ba Tuan Chin, or 8 silk weaving. That's a breathing system of exercises that we use that helps you build up your internal organs. So we move from the physical, outside external exercises to the internal exercises, building up the organs, and that helps prevent a person from having internal injuries that they may otherwise get if they don't practice that system of exercise.
The children basically get the same training as the adults. They first get stances, basic punches, basic kicks, and stepping to put all of those three things together, including blocking. So the technique is the exact same thing as we would do for the adults, so as they get older, they're basically just adding speed and power to these basic techniques.
Basically, just as with the adults, okay? You teach them the discipline about using this, okay? With the fighting, you see it's very controlled, okay? You don't use it in a humorous way. You don't use it here in a humorous way. You get them in that habit of doing that, okay? So that when they go outside, they don't do that, okay? They also know that if we find out, you know, that we're serious. You know, we want them to realize when you practice, you have to practice seriously. And so if you just joke around with it, then you're not taking your training seriously.
Fighting dancing are forms that are put together by the students, and they're not prearranged forms. They're different from a lot of the katas and things that you may see from other systems. We have people put these forms together spontaneously, and they allow the person to put together their blocking, stepping, punching, and kicking in a way that they can use it in a fighting situation. When you have two people who are ready to play, as we call it in this system, we call our sparring playing, we have the people look at each other and basically focus on each other to try to psych the person out, number one, and to prepare themselves for the battle that they're going to get themselves into. Basically, you're trying to set up your positioning to be able to get to your opponent in the best advantage that you can. We also don't like our students to remain stationary, because once you're stationary, you become a target. We don't like lining up in front of one person. We'd like to step to the side, shift, turn, to make it more difficult for them to get their technique off on you. A lot of systems will line up one person right in front of the other. They'll run right at the other person. I was asked previously, do we take care with people of different sizes? Because of the stepping that we do, stepping in a circular fashion, you don't have to worry about the person of another size because that force is not met directly. You can deflect the force and then counter that force with the movement that we use.
In terms of discipline techniques, we're going to breaking, basic breaking from, let's say, from wood to cinder slab to brick. And then we start breaking things on you. But of course, at that time, your body should be, it's a progression where your body is constantly going from one level to the next.
It really comes from internal chi, internal energy, and that is developed through the physical workouts that we have, because every time you throw a punch or you throw a kick, you're really extending your energy out, away from your body, and making it more forceful. One of our lessons is in breathing and meditation techniques, and we use those techniques to get internal energy in order to channel it from the inside to the outside to what you saw in the breaking. Now the breaking, again, is not for breaking's sake. It's basically an additional weapon, whether it's the side of your hand or your forearm or the inside of your palm, to basically use out in the street when you're fighting. You may be slow of foot. Not everybody is the fastest and most greatest fighter, but everybody can develop breaking techniques, which is through conditioning different parts of the body so that you can use these conditioned parts of the body as weapons and become more fearless when you have to fight somebody for real out in the street.
It's like Grandmaster Lee has said many times that he doesn't have one son or daughter, he has over 300 sons or daughters. Now this is going back to when the temple started, which is 67. First we began in New Jersey, then we began in New York. So again, it's like a big extended family, that's what we think of ourselves. It's not the question of, most of us go into martial arts obviously for the obvious, learning to defend ourselves, learning to fight to protect ourselves. But we find that after a while, that becomes secondary. It's the whole idea of, again, the family concept.
We're located in Manhattan on 27th Street, and the exact address is 28 West 27th Street on the 8th floor between Broadway and 6th Avenue.
People can come down to the school any evening during the week, Monday through Friday, at approximately 6 o'clock to watch our training. And we can be reached at telephone number 212-725-0535.